Welcome back to the Record Player, everybody. Scott with you as always. Today I am joined by one of the most recognizable voices in Canadian music. He is the singer, guitarist, and songwriter of Canadian music legends 5440, and he's got a new solo project out called Nizwiz. Thrilled to be joined by Neil Osborne. How are you, Neil?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. You're in Vancouver, a little bit different time.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Uh, I want to get into the new record. We're going to talk about. I want to also talk about the collaboration with Candle.
Mhm.
And of course, we're going to talk a bit about 5440. First of all, how are you during the last bit? How's the family? Everybody staying safe?
Yeah, I think like everybody, you get kind of frustrated or you get kind of, is this thing ever going to end? It's like a pandemic.
Similar to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, weird. But there's shades, whatever, glimmers of sunshine, that it seems like, our agents telling us people are inquiring about shows and things. But I'm a bit like the dog that's been scared too much. It's like, I'll believe it when I'm on stage and there's real people in front of me.
Yeah, we keep
But
getting
it's
teased.
encouraging.
We keep getting teased here in Ontario that it's going to be over. It's going to be over, and then no, pull it out from under us. So.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm encouraged. So
Good, good, good. Let's talk about Nizwiz. I heard a long time ago that you were never interested in doing any kind of solo thing. This isn't necessarily a solo album. Nizwiz is a concept album project that you decided to do. You had already kind of put it together before the pandemic started, correct?
yeah, it was recorded and written and mixed actually, and I guess mastered as well before the pandemic started. But there's a lot of references that could be towards a pandemic kind of atmosphere, which is kind of weird. But there you have it.
Well,
And
that's
it's not a Neil Osborne record in the sense that it wasn't just me deciding to do some songs, that I could do with 5440 or could not do. It was a definite concept of I wanted to approach different characters and ideas and one following into another. So it was like a basically an art project, and that's what made me do it, and that's why I did it.
one thing I noticed when I got mine. This is it, by the way, for any of the listeners who want to have a look. This is the Nizwiz. The one of the things I noticed, of course, right off the hop when I got it was all the warnings. You must listen to it in order.
Yeah, and the
I
curse.
thought, am I going to get in trouble if I don't listen to it in order? But
I I don't know.
it really is. When I say concept album, I mean it really is something that's like it's like reading a book. I mean, you do kind of have to listen to it in order to kind of get the flow of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in order to sort of follow the creative process that I went through. So basically, I had the idea of doing this record and with general kind of things in my head of what's going on in the world and social media and AI and where everybody sort of sits. And then I had this big canvas, painting canvas, and I put it on the wall and I just sort of wrote down song titles just right there and then. And I wrote like 19 song titles. And then I went, okay, I'm going to start with the first one. And it was called America Fly. No idea why I wrote that. There it was. And then I'm going to write that song. So I proceeded to basically craft that tune. I sang all the vocals directly onto the track in a character, and just sort of kept singing and singing until it was right. I didn't write anything down. And then I played all the instruments or programmed the drums or, stole this and that from various places, and sort of created the soundscape, created the first chapter of the story, if you will. And so that's why it's good to listen to it consecutively, because you can see or you can hear, you know, maybe what's going on in my crazy head as it goes from one to another to another to another. Where's this lead? What is this person doing? Meanwhile over here in the CD lounge bar, the crooner with rum, and he's doing his thing. It's kind of like a weird David Lynch soundtrack or something. I really don't know, but you know, and I really took care of a lot of the quality. So I'm glad we're talking about, vinyl and stuff like that. we mixed it on 1/2 inch tape, and then we had Greg Calby master it strictly for vinyl. And a lot of people pump out vinyl these days, and it's okay. It's kind of an you know, I mean, as far as the audio quality of it,
Yeah.
if it's mastered really well and and the pressing's done right and the lacquers are done right, then you know, then I think you got something going. But if you just sort of pump it out because to have some vinyl style off stage, I guess that's okay too. But a lot of it doesn't sound as good as it should or could.
I've always been a believer that everything sounds better on vinyl, but that's just because of how I grew up and what I was listening to when I was younger.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I still have a lot of my old records from the '80s and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
And that's the idea. When I say listen to it consecutively, this isn't for people like you. This is for people who don't do that, who
Skip.
jump track. 'Cause if you don't listen to it consecutively, there's a chance you'll actually scratch the record if you kind of, I want to hear track four. So I mean, yeah, we remember the days when you put on a side, right?
Yeah.
And you might sit down and listen to it, or you might just go and do something while it's on, and then roughly just under 20 minutes later, it's over, and then you make this big decision: do you turn it over, or you put something up?
But that's how you hear the deep cuts, right? I call them deep
Yeah,
cuts. So the songs that you would never hear on the radio or never really hear live, songs that you wind up being your favorite ones on the record because you put it on and you listen to it consecutively.
yeah, for sure. Like if you have an album that's your favorite album, and you know what track two is, and you know what the next song is, and if you go to a Spotify or an Apple Music or whatever, they don't really do it that way unless you try to go in there. They just sort of, the popular songs are blah, and then they
But
put
this
them
is
up.
how you wrote this album, right? You wrote it in
Yeah,
the order that you placed it.
I wrote it to tape, so there wasn't like I've written the song, now I'm going to record it.
Right.
I'd be standing in front of basically this computer that I'm standing in front of now, and going, okay, what are we going to start with? Okay, let's find a beat, or let's get an idea of this. Let's grab a bass and see what happens. And this is Love Affair 1980, for instance, which is track two. And where are we going to go with this? And then it was like, well, 1980. So the first thing I went to was John Lennon's death, because that was, believe it or not, our 5440's very first gig,
Yeah.
unannounced. We were
So the night.
doing yeah, like one of those open mic dealios, but was for bands. And so, we got there and we just found out John Lennon had been shot and killed, and it was like, oh. And so 1980 is a big year for me and my career and the band. And Love Affair was the nightclub that all the kids went to, after hours. You kind of went there at midnight to listen to all the coolest, latest British music.
Um,
So
there's obviously a huge political influence that you can hear on the record, and like you said, the social media part. That's the part that I got out of it, probably more so than the political aspect of it, was the social media part of it. You keep going back to the social media part. It's like Siri's a member of the band by the time you get through it.
yeah, Siri's definitely a member of the band. Yeah, there's a song like, for instance, a couple people have asked me. There's a song "Train Through the Rockies,"
Mhm.
and there's a woman's voice singing, and I actually took Siri and I pitched her to make it sound like she's kind of singing rather than a robot voice. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of from our perspective, from a day when you know computers really weren't part of our daily lives. Things have changed quite a bit, and they've influenced us quite a lot. And we're sort of programmed to respond by the algorithm, right? Or the algorithm's trying to figure out what we'll do next and what we'll buy next. And I've been reading a lot of a guy named Yuval Harari, who's written a bunch of really cool books on where things are going, especially involving artificial intelligence. Uh, and there's sort of just pause for reflection, if not warnings. I'm not a complete Luddite, although I do live out in the country. uh, but yeah, so I think there's a lot that's been happening to us as a people and as a society, where we're going. There's a big technological evolution that's affecting how we even think, how we speak, all these things. And I come from a time when that wasn't the case.
Mhm.
So we kind of got to go, okay, well, is this where we want to be? And where is this actually going? And, I think in the epilogue song at the very end, it's like, well, that's kind of my thoughts. That's my fears. Let's make it great. Let's say a little prayer for, the future, make it a good one.
I think it's great. I mean, obviously your voice, so people are automatically going to hear the 5440 voice on it.
Mhm.
But it really isn't anything like 5440. You know what I mean? It's very,
No,
very different for you, and which is obviously the intention and
yeah,
you want
that's why I call it Nizwiz rather than Neil Osborne, because,
it
I suppose sorry?
because it's not a solo album, right? It's
Yeah, it's a little bit different than, I'm trying to think of another band without, I don't know, singers of another band, like Burton Cummings, just say, he's the singer that Guess Who, and then when he's Burton Cummings, well, that's him.
yeah,
And if I was to do a solo album, which I never really intended to do or tend to do in the sense of a Neil Osborne record, because I've got 5440 for that,
yeah.
um, it would be more like, I don't know, what I think as me, in terms of, I don't know, walking in the rain or something. I don't know, just but this Nizwiz was a specific point of view and a specific kind of attitude and characters that would kind of emerge and follow this path, this story. So it's more about a story in a loose kind of conceptual way that I just felt the creative urge to tell it,
Mhm.
and we could have made it a 5440 record, but then people, I guess we could have, but it was, I had a strong enough vision, and whatnot to really exercise this. And the 5440, we've got a new record coming out and it's completely a different animal than
Mhm.
what this is. Yeah.
Um, are you a big social media guy? Like, are you big on, I shouldn't say Facebook because we're old people are Facebook, so that's me. But like,
Yeah.
are you big
Yeah.
into the Twitter and the Instagram and that kind of thing? Or
Not really. I
no?
mean, I should be saying, yes, of course I am. And here's my this and that and all that. Um, I do stuff on there. I get into it for a couple of weeks and then I just get bored,
Yeah.
And of course, I follow people I know, mostly my kids. The only way I know what they're up to.
Your kids are probably the same age as mine, and I'm constantly having them come into the room and saying, "Do this for me," because I can't figure this out. So
Yeah, yeah,
technology is not.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, yeah, Canada will go like for Family Curse. She'll go. You should post this and that, and I just go, here, go ahead, do it.
I don't
Here's
do
my password.
when it comes to the record player, I've got Heather as my partner. I got her to do that for me.
Yeah.
I do not do that kind of stuff. I want to talk a bit about 5440. It's
Mhm.
been 35 years since that came out, since the Green Album came out.
Right, 1986,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So it's been
Yep.
35 years. It feels like yesterday. I mean, um, it doesn't feel like that much time has passed since this came out or since any of those earlier records came out. Um, is there a favorite during that period? I mean, I'm just going to go through some of the songs here that
Mhm.
Baby Ran, I Go Blind, One Gun, Nice to Love You, One Day in Your Life. I mean, these are all hits that were huge Canadian hits. Is there any particular song or album from that period that's your favorite that you remember the most or that means more to you?
Um, no, it's funny because we got together to play a show yesterday, a taping of a
Mhm.
show, the whole band, and we were reminiscing about certain albums, and we for some reason got into the Fight for Love record, and people remembered different aspects of the recording of it and what went into it and all that. So that was a nice sort of trip down memory lane. But all the albums, generally I always think that Smile and Buddha Cabaret is my favorite because it's so eclectic and was so spontaneous in the writing and recording. Uh, but that one you held up still stands up.
Oh,
So
definitely.
it's kind of a cool thing. So
I talked to Tom Hooper not that long ago, Grapes of Wrath, and
ah,
we were talking about, he was in Vancouver too,
yeah,
or I can't remember exactly where he lives, but close to Vancouver.
Salt
Uh,
Spring.
Yeah. We were talking about that period of time and how different it is from the music business today. Obviously, technology's changed and everything, but that
Yeah.
was a special time for 5440, Grapes of Wrath, Spirit of the West, all that kind of out west music, wasn't it? I mean, was that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. We did a lot of shows, with both of those bands and a lot of bands from out east too.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's fun,
Um, sorry, go ahead.
fun times.
Um, I Go Blind. I want to talk a little bit about I Go Blind specifically. Being covered by Hootie and the Blowfish gave it a lot more international exposure. I've always
Mhm.
wondered in the back of my head what that process is like. Does Darius Rucker call Neil Osborne and say, "I like that song, I want to do it," or is it a record company thing that comes in and says?
Well, it's funny because we just got a Songwriters Hall of Fame award
Yeah.
for that song. And so once again, we were reminiscing about, and then I actually was talking to Facebook to our A&R guy out of Los Angeles, Warner Brothers, and the band and him wanted "I Go Blind" to be released as the second single after "Baby Ran,"
Mhm.
and they didn't hear it. They didn't want to do it. And I remember going into Lenny Waronker, who was president of Warner Brothers office, and him playing the song, like, man, this sounds good. And he didn't say anything. He was like, hey, good luck, guys. And talked about Reprise, that we were on the Reprise label, and their product people, their product managers picked another song, and we tried to fight them, and they just said no. And we wondered often that if we released it and pushed it as a single ourselves, what would have happened. The Hootie guys, they were sort of all students at University of South Carolina. So we played a club called the 930 Club in Washington, D.C. quite a bit, which is a short drive for them.
Mhm.
And they would come and hang out with us. They were a cover band. They played REM, they played us, they played
Oh,
kind of
really?
all the band. So they played like 4 or 5 of our songs, and they never really stopped playing "I Go Blind." And so that became a B-side off their first album of the first single, and then sort of things grew from there. But no, you don't need permission.
Oh,
I can record anybody's song and put it out there as long as the due credit and publishing and all that gets appropriately assigned. You're fine.
you mentioned the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In my opinion, you could put any 5440 song in that Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Is,
Yeah.
is there any kind of a is there any kind of a you know what's the word I'm looking for? Is there a ceremony for that, or
Yeah.
is that
Right.
something, or is that something where you're just, I mean, now with COVID maybe there isn't, but
Yeah, well, maybe there would have been. I think there would have been a live appearance. We did a taping at Combo actually in front of nobody for it. And there probably would have been like that kind of a thing. Maybe it would have been broadcast somewhere. Um, no, you often wonder if there's a big hall like in Game of Thrones where this
oh
is the
yeah,
Hall of Fame for songs. We're in a
absolutely.
bunch of Hall of Fames in this country. And I'll tell you one thing: even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland did not exist when we started as a band.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
is an afterthought, and it's a great thing. It's a great little feather in our caps to get these awards, and we've got a few of them. And kudos and all that sort of stuff. But it's not why we do it.
No.
It's just kind of it's a need to get the acknowledgement from the people that helped us get us there. Honestly, so yeah.
One of my favorite projects that you did, shift gears a little bit, was with Candle,
Mhm.
the Family Curse.
Ongoing.
Is that you're still going with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. We shot a bunch more videos, and the album release is scheduled for early fall. The whole album
The whole thing.
officially. Yeah,
LA Blues is great. It's what I like about it is that it's dirty, not necessarily in the sense of filthy, but like dirty. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
dirty rock and roll, and that's kind of what I.
yeah. It's kind of a Texas outlaw
Hear.
vibe to it. Yeah,
And it's different than was that done on purpose? Because it's different than anything you've done. It's different than 5440. It's different than Candle's stuff that she's no done. Was
yeah,
that two of you coming together and saying, let's be totally off the board here?
yeah. I mean, it sort of started organically in the sense that I had some stuff kicking around, and it was a Christmas about 2, 3 years ago now, where my wife was with her mother who fell ill. My other daughter was in Los Angeles, and Canada was in Montreal, so I was alone. So Canada and I got on FaceTime or whatever, and I said, well, I got a couple of tunes. You want to see what you could sing to them? So I, was experimenting with playing slide guitar and drums and doing weird blues grooves. And she goes, okay, just put a name on it and I'll sing something to it. So I'd say, okay, well, I'll call this LA Blues. I'll call this Cemetery Blues. And so she developed this sort of persona, and she just got back from a trip through the desert, Joshua Tree and Pioneer Town and that whole vibe that's down there. So she was really inspired by all that, that sort of, I don't know what you call that kind of vibe. I guess outlaw rock from the 50s and 60s that came out of that scene,
Mm.
and sort of the beatnik scene too. So uh it just emerged out of there and it just came quite natural, and it is sort of blues and groove inspired, and like I say, it's kind of dirty. It's meant to be
Yeah.
that way. Like a lot of our vocals are sung through an old Fender amp with distortion driving it. Like it's not properly done, but that's the
That's what makes
intention.
it good though.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So it's just, yeah, kind of swampy. And yeah, it's actually we're kind of surprised that it's in some ways doing better than either of our careers are doing at the moment, kind of thing. So it's good.
Uh, I've got two boys and three girls. Two of my girls work with me, and I want to kill them half the time because
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the boss, and they just assume that they are. What's that relationship between you two? I mean, you're the rock star who's been doing this forever, and she's the youngin. So what's that dynamic?
It's pretty good. We've always got along, ever since she was about 2 when she could talk, hit it off pretty good. Yeah, she has some ideas that are pretty strong, and sometimes so do I. We did a little tour through Southern Ontario and Quebec, I guess, just in the summer before COVID, and I remember walking out of sound check.
You
I
got
don't know
into
why.
it?
Yeah, it was really hot, and no air conditioning, and I was hungry, and I was like, "How with this?" I just left. But we had a good time at the show. So
Uh, God willing, we're coming out of this soon, and that you're going to get back on the road. It's been far too long. I know you just finished saying you taped something with 5440 yesterday. You got the new record coming out. Is there going to be any live Nizwiz stuff, or is it just when this is over and things are open, you're right back into 5440?
I'll be doing some Nizwiz presentations of some kind. Obviously I won't be able to emulate that whole record, unless I've got a budget like a David Byrne or David Bowie or something, and then I could.
Call some.
But yeah, where Alan and I are started figuring out how to present it. It might be just with me and a couple of weird side people that do weird things. I don't know, but there'll be something that'll be able to present it and talk about it. And 5440 will definitely be on the road anywhere and everywhere, and Family Curse will be on the road too,
Good.
starting in the fall here and there. Um, and then I'll bring Nizwiz records wherever I go.
Well, it's a great record for those who are interested in, which should be anybody who's a 5440 fan, Neil Osborne fan. Nizwiz, it's available on vinyl, but you've also got it is going to be digitally, right? You are going to be
We
releasing
are going to
a song.
yeah, there won't be the whole package. It won't be everything, but we've got the next single that's coming out end of, or mid to end of June, I guess, called "God Do Me a Solid," and it's got a great little video with it. And we'll just sort of tickle the edges of the online world and see what happens.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. It's been an honor to talk to you. Stay safe. I
My
hope
pleasure.
everything's good. Can't wait to get you back on the road. Nizwiz is
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
And thank you
Great.
so much.
Yeah, okay. My pleasure.
Take care, Neil.
Okay.